it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. And I want to take a moment and just say thank you so much for all your viewership, your continued support, your insights, your comments, and your connections. It is with much honor and privilege that I bring forth this content and these healing tools to a very specific experience in life that oftentimes not a lot of other people have been able to have experienced or can relate to. So really there is a healing and connection when you come together with like experiences, with like wounds, with like scars, with like healing process, the amount of time, the amount of disability, the amount of crippling effects that a relationship with a malignant narcissist or a psychopath or someone who is borderline or someone who has really been emotionally manipulative or toxic, and how that can really make a negative incision or scar emotionally when this relationship proceeds, especially when it's dealt with a lot of pathology or pathological lying, and really how to make sense of things so that you can feel that you're really solid on your feet. So what I want to zoom in and focus in on today as a great viewer question is that to look at some more of the red flags of the psychopath, and really for that, knowing to be the case that, as you read in the book, The Psychopath Test, I would highly recommend those people that you take a look at that book. And let's see if I have it handy here for the author. The Psychopath Test. I will get the author here, and John Robson, I think, is the author. But as you understand, and from all the work that Dr. Robert Hare has put together and culminated in his many years of research as a Canadian psychologist, is that these are individuals who don't feel remorse, they don't feel regret, they don't have a conscience. So their sense of right and wrong is really, it's not on point with a lot of the rest of humanity or what you would know to be right or wrong. For example, there was a great Netflix called, I think it was called Dirty Money, and they talked about Valiant, the pharmaceutical company based out of the U.S., and how the owner, the new CEO, came in and was able to monopolize a specific drug on the market that, let's say, usually it was sold for like $800 a year. The people would normally have, like a $10 copay or something like that. He basically jacked up and price gouged it to the point where it was now $300,000 a year. And that was the only drug on the market. There were no generics. So he was able to completely exploit a very, very specific type of medication that had no other duplicates or generics. So there was no other alternatives for these people. And this medication was, it was a basically lifelong medication, and it would make the difference between life or death. So it was really, it was needed. It was very much, it was not just this can alleviate pain. It was a live or die sort of medication for these people. I mean, it was a must have. And so, so he exploited this area of the market. There was no really, regulations that really were able to pinpoint this from happening. So basically then who is paying for the stockholder returns was the insurance companies, and then those people who were basically, price gouged out of their medication if they did not have insurance. So, and, the CEO is just kind of like, well, we're here to provide returns to our stockholders. In other words, it made perfect sense for him to just go in and exploit this very, very small part of the pharmaceutical industry. So this whole experience, where most people would say, oh my God, that's ridiculous, that's horrific. How could you take advantage of an insurance company and, and everyone else is paying the price through increased rates, etc. You hear that story and you're like, oh my God, that's awful. So that's your conscience. That's how your conscience is working. Now, it's the same way. So red flags in your own experience is when this person has hurt or violated you and they do not really say, I am sorry. if you look back in your relationship, and if they were to violate a boundary, hurt you, not get back to you, something had occurred, and there is no apology, there is no I'm sorry, there is, there's no statement like that. You can then see that this feeling and repertoire is missing from this individual's emotional palette. So this is a huge red flag. And so if you look at this, and if you think, about your exchanges with them, was there any sort of apology? Was there any sort of I'm sorry? Or was it, if it was stated, was it very empty? Could you see that it was, only after you had demanded it? So in other words, this is a huge red flag that you can see, and then it will give you kind of some solidity in knowing what you experienced was emotionally manipulative and not energy generating for you. Relationships, when we look at it all, really the best relationships are those that are energy generating, ones that are in your best interest. They give you life, they give you excitement, they give you optimism, they help you move forward. You're able to laugh, you're able to joke, they're able to see you when you're down, see you when you're up, it's raining or snowing, sun shining or, crystal clear blue skies, no matter what it is, they can weather it. They know that it's human to weather things, and they don't hold your being human against you. So really the psychopath, it's almost like they're taking and using your humanness against you. They're exploiting that very little vulnerability of your desire for companionship, your desire for closeness, intimacy, warmth, being able to plan for the future, grow a family. So even though they don't really have that need the way that you feel it, they have it more as a shell appearance. In other words, it's to look as if they're normal. So that's how they behave, and that's how they look at opportunities in life. So they will have kids to appear normal, marry, etc. I mean, it really is very difficult for most people to comprehend, but that is the case. And so now looking back at your relationship, was there lack of apologies, of sincerity, and, really kind of learning after they had done something wrong? And you can see that oftentimes, another big red flag also is that after a really intense fight, that they, where most people would still be kind of emotionally heated up or triggered, they have it's just left their system. They just almost don't recall from one half hour to the next, what just happened. In other words, you might still be seething that this had just occurred, and they're completely a blank slate. Like they just have no memory of it, and they're just going and brushing their teeth just like, okay. In other words, they don't hold on to the same emotional lessons the way that the other bulk of society does. So, when you're looking back and you see these reflections, perhaps that can help you give insight so you can better understand what you were dealing with and why you were feeling so jeopardized and, so wounded, so hurt, so confused by this relationship and its developments. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.